Upon further review, the NFL has no more instant replay, but we'll replay last week's action and look ahead as well inside the NFL.
I'm Brian Burwell. In this week's cover story, we'll take a look at an Eagle who's ready to fly again. Philadelphia's Randall Cunningham.
Hi, I'm Alex Wojciechowicz Jr., Alex's oldest son, and this is the rest of his family. Please stay tuned to see how we, with others, pay tribute to a great football player.
Joining us on NFL Crosstalk is Minnesota head coach Dennis Green to talk about the new-look Vikings. And now, inside the NFL, pro football's most informative hour with your hosts, Len Dawson, Nick Bonaconti, and Chris Collinsworth.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the longest-running show in the history of cable television. Two reasons for that longevity. Sit beside me, Chris Collinsworth to my right, Nick Bonaconti to my left. And gentlemen, I am really excited, getting ready to start the 16th year of HBO's Inside the NFL.
And you know, Lenny, this is your 15th year as being the main man on the set. That's longer than your tenure at quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Wait a minute, big guy. This is your 14th year as well. But let's go through first things first. You guys feeling all right? For the people that may not know, both of these wily veterans had off-season surgery. You guys fired up, ready to go?
Oldies but goodies, buddy.
Yeah, surgery took care of the problems that Nick and I have. But Nick, first week into the season, do you think some of these teams need an operation?
Well, I think the New York Giants ought to surgically remove their head coach, Ray Handley. Now, here's a guy who can't make a decision as to who his quarterback should be. That has thrown the team in a disarray. Then he makes a bad decision. He takes an aggressive, emotional defense, and he changes it into a read and react passive type of a defense. That's like taking an anchor and throwing it around Lawrence Taylor's neck. It's decisions like that, Lenny, that get a coach fired.
Well, I would guarantee you one guy that's not going to get fired anytime soon, and that's Ted Marchibroda. What a job he's done already with the Colts. You guys are going to think I'm crazy, but already the Indianapolis Colts have one of the best front sevens in all the National Football League. Defensively, this team has stars on it. Steve Emtman, an absolute stud. Quentin Coryatt, the number 2 pick, as fast as any linebacker in the National Football League right now. Jeff Harrod, the best linebacker you've never heard of, and even Chip Banks had 4 sacks in that game against Cleveland.
I love this. Here it is. You're talking about a coach, him, and you're telling me that you think the Colt front seven is as good as any in the National Football League. I know you were at that ball game, but wait till you see some of the other defenses around the league. Take the NFC East, for example. Dallas. Did they do a pretty good job defensively against the world champion Redskins? They kicked their butts. Also, the number 1 defense of a year ago, the Eagles. They're terrorizing offenses this year, even without the services of Jerome Brown. You know, there were other great defensive efforts in Week 1. Bruce Smith had a huge game for Buffalo against the Rams. 49ers shut down the Giants, and the Eagles continued their defensive mastery and won despite a rusty Randall Cunningham.
Randall Cunningham and the Eagles had been missing one last piece to their championship puzzle. So they acquired Herschel Walker, and he fits snugly into their offense against the New Orleans Saints.
Randall gives off to Walker, off left tackle, breaks 1 tackle, cuts to the outside, 35-30, 25, cuts back at the 20, at the 15, Herschel Walker to the 10!
Walker became the Eagles' first 100-yard rusher since newly rejuvenated Heath Sherman. Number 23 did it in 1990. While Philadelphia amassed almost 200 yards on the ground, Reggie White and the powerful Eagle defense savaged the Saints. New Orleans was limited to a paltry 55 yards rushing, and quarterback Bobby Hebert was stymied by the acrobatic Eagles secondary. Although Cunningham fumbled 3 times, he passed with precision.
For the end zone for Barnett, who leaps and has it for a touchdown! Arkansas Fred!
While the Eagles' 15-13 victory was electrifying, there was magic in Buffalo. Irvin Johnson waltzed into Rich Stadium to support his L.A. homeboys, but the Rams needed an exorcism, not a magician. and soon proved they were not anyone's dream team. The Bills' defense dominated the Rams by portraying a brutal mix of back-alley muggers and skillful pickpockets. A healthy and spry Bruce Smith, number 78, registered 2 sacks, and multi-talented Thurman Thomas became the dream player for every fantasy football franchise owner in America. The Bills All-Pro caught 3 passes, ran for over 100 yards, scored 4 touchdowns, and provided a season's worth of highlights in a single game. But on this day of mad dashes and spirited sprints, it was a marathon runner who broke the tape. James Lofton, a player for 3 decades, broke the NFL record for receiving yardage. While an ageless wonder was saluted in Buffalo, everyone at the Meadowlands acknowledged the toast of the town.
Yes!
Everybody finish up here. Let's have a toast.
Right.
To the Big Blue in 92.
All right.
But Giant fans are divided on who should quarterback, Phil Simms or Jeff Hostetler.
I'm always ready to go.
Meanwhile, the 49ers hope Steve Young can replace injured and aging Joe Montana.
You got to be getting Social Security here pretty quick, right?
Pretty close.
While these guys may become yesterday's news, the 49ers hope to author headlines that read NFL champions.
Leave it on the field. Everybody in this group has got to sell out today. We've got to come out and play hard. 60 minutes left.
Push into his face. We can't let him scramble, all right? And be alert to come off on the screen.
Now, we got to mix that pass in there now. You're doing a good job. Just stay with it now. Hey, you're pass blocking the out of him now.
Come on, Tim. Bring out them 6 shooters, baby.
Nicknamed the Gunslinger, Tim Harris notched 2 sacks of Phil Simms. While fickle Giant fans switched loyalties, the 49ers switched quarterbacks as Steve Bono replaced injured Steve Young.
Because I'm looking just to make sure if there's a hole in the middle, like maybe I might have a tight end, but they waited for it. They knew it was coming.
Everyone knows that Jerry Rice is coming to the post, and while the Giants couldn't stop him, a penalty did.
Oh, Jerry Rice.
The player the Big Blue couldn't contain down deep was touchdown Tommy Rathman, who scored 3 times.
Rathman jumps, touchdown.
How can you say you ain't getting blocked if you're on your back?
He's talking about keep coming my way. We might as well keep on. We're killing him every time.
He held out too damn long. Memory's gone.
I see Phil Simms out there. Should I tell him I'm checking out all the behinds?
Behind is what the Giants were all day, and it was their butts that were kicked across Giant Stadium as the resurgent 49ers capped a convincing 31-14 victory with John Johnson's 56-yard interception return.
Not 1, not 2, but 3. Can you believe it? I can't.
We got on today. 1's in the bag. We got 15 more to go.
All right, Nick, you saw Tim Harris say 1 down and 15 to go, but Tim should be thinking only of the next game because they're taking on the Bills this week. But they're a good football team. In the offseason, several coaches felt that the 49ers were the best team at the end of last season. They don't seem to have any controversy this year except who should be starting at quarterback.
Well, Lenny, there is really no quarterback controversy with the San Francisco 49ers. When they play the Buffalo Bills this week, Steve Bono should be the quarterback. You have to remember that the 49er offense was designed around Joe Montana, and Steve Bono, in my mind, operates that as close to Montana as possible. And besides that, he is 5-1 as a starter.
Well, it's fine to go with a pocket passer like Bono if you're playing a team like the Read and React Giants. But this week they go up against the Buffalo Bills, and Bruce Smith is back. 2 quarterback sacks a week ago, 4 quarterback pressures. And the best way for the 49ers to win this football game is with Steve Young. He had the highest quarterback rating of any quarterback in the league last year. He's mobile. He can scramble when necessary. He gives them their best shot to win.
Why am I not surprised that you pick Young and you both? You don't agree on something, but I tell you this, some things never change. But if Thurman Thomas continues to play like he did last week, they may be on the sideline for most of the game. Nick, how you see this game?
Lenny, I think it's going to be a very close game. The 49ers will win. They have an added dimension this year. It's called Ricky Waters, the running back. He gives them something they haven't had.
Well, not only will the Bills' defensive line be better, but their secondary will as well. Henry Jones takes over for Leonard Smith at strong safety. All he did in his first start was intercept 2 passes. Nate Owens with 2 interceptions last week as well. I like this Bills defense. If they can just be middle of the road, I think the Bills have a shot to win it all. So I take them on the road this week.
Well, let's remember one thing. The Bills defense did their damage against the Los Angeles Rams. They are not going to get that done against the San Francisco 49ers. The only way the Bills will get pressure on the 49er quarterback is to blitz those linebackers. If they do that, that means single coverage on the outside on Rice and Taylor. They don't want that either. I think this game is going to go to the 49ers, and I don't think it's going to be close. If the 49ers make it to the Super Bowl, they'll probably have to get past Dallas and Washington. Let's take a look at the highlights of the Cowboys-Skins game from Monday night, as well as the christening of the Georgia Dome and the resurrection of Ted Marchibroda as coach of the Colts.
With Browns coach Bill Belichick facing old and new Colt coach Ted Marchibroda, you could say this was going to be Bill and Ted's excellent adventure. A more appropriate title would have been Weekend at Bernie's. Bernie Kosar was sacked 11 times, 4 by former teammate number 51, Chip Banks. Banks proved to be a chip on Kosar's shoulder and a thorn in his side, picking off the man who last year set a record by throwing 309 consecutive passes without an interception. It was a bitter opening day for Kosar and a bittersweet one for Colts quarterback Mark Herman.
Herman drops back to throw, has time, throws down the left side, he's got Langhorne.
Herman found Reggie Langhorne, who was let go by the Browns, to lead Indianapolis to its first ever opening day win. A day later, Herman was let go, but the Colts have shown what goes around comes around, so maybe someday Herman will return, just like Marchibroda. The Falcons will not return to Fulton County Stadium this year. The Birds have flown the coop and moved their nest inside the Georgia Dome. The deck certainly was stacked in Atlanta's favor Sunday as a faithful following turned out for the first regular season game.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Georgia Dome, home of the Atlanta Falcons.
From bottom to top, turf to Teflon, the new dome is an impressive structure and was sold out to see 2 wild card teams from a year ago start the season.
1, 2, 3, yes!
1, 2, 3,
On the Jets' first play from scrimmage, quarterback Browning Nagel lost control, and although the Jets apparently recovered the loose ball, the officials awarded it to Atlanta. The Falcons couldn't wait to get their Haynes in the end zone, and one brief play later, Atlanta jockeyed its way to a score.
Into the end zone, throws, touchdown!
Chris Miller to Michael Haynes. For the Falcons, it was a picture-perfect start.
Special feet under, you ought to have a pretty, yeah. And if this inside backer.
While Miller looked for more holes to run and shoot through, New York tried to correct its mistakes.
Doesn't matter what they do. What matters is how we execute. That's the whole ball of wax here is what we do.
What the Jets did was watch Haynes score his second touchdown of the quarter on Atlanta's next possession.
In the end zone, he throws into the end zone, touchdown!
A 17-0 first quarter lead. Chris Miller and the Falcons were pouring it on while the Jets were looking for a way to stop the bleeding. They found it in quarterback Browning Nagel, who was making his first NFL start.
Look at the cups, but check it to the two guys' side, okay? All right? Remember how we practiced it yesterday? Everything all right? All right, nothing hurt, boys. Let's go to work.
The Jets' offense may not be a run and shoot, but with Nagel, they apparently have a young gun who's not afraid to shoot first and ask questions later. And in the second quarter, he fired his first NFL touchdown pass.
Throws into the end zone. Touchdown! Al Toon makes the grab. High in the right corner. A perfect strike thrown by Browning Nagel.
That was tough though, man. Because, you know, when you're wide open, when that guy was on his back, I was like, oh. And then I had a guy slip off me.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I had a guy, Brad, tried to get him and he went around him, and he slipped off me, and that's when I just came up throwing.
Oh, okay.
And I was afraid that I was going to throw it up in the first row or something.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, no, it's true.
While Nagel was interested in discussing his initial scoring strike, Bruce Kozlov was more concerned with how to get another one.
I want you to throw it to Rob. He's killing McKyer. That's why I want 78.
With acrobatic receptions from the likes of Rob Moore, Nagel was able to go deep on Tim McKyer and Atlanta's baseball playerless secondary for 366 yards. And in the third quarter, he helped pull his team within 3.
Down to the 35, the 30, the 20, going to the goal line. Touchdown, Jets. Burkett.
Chris Burkett must have been laughing at the way he spun away from Bobby Butler. But there wasn't anything remotely funny about the mistakes the Jets made that cost them the game. Brad Baxter fumbled at the 1, and Jason Starowski twice missed game-tying field goals in the second half. In this battle of two of the game's promising young quarterbacks, Chris Miller escaped the victor. He'll have to be just as sharp Sunday to beat Washington.
1-0, baby. 15 more to go.
The Falcons can only hope to look just as pretty against Washington Sunday as the Cowboys did on Monday night. The defending Super Bowl champion Redskins waltzed into Dallas with their heads held high, but it was a heads-up play by the Cowboys that started things off. Isaac Holt's block punt for a safety set the tone for the evening and sent Dallas fans into a frenzy. Emmett Smith kept them on their feet as he scampered into the end zone from 5 yards out to put Dallas up by 9. Number 22 tallied 139 yards for the night, his fourth consecutive 100-yard rushing game against Washington. The Redskins finally woke up in the second quarter, and when Mark Rippon hit Gary Clark from 30 yards out, it appeared that the Cowboys' party might soon be over. But Dallas was not ready to stop the music.
3rd and 10, and Aikman straight drop looking left. Deep ball for Harper to the end zone. It's caught.
Alvin Harper's 26-yard score again put Dallas up by 9. But it was another Cowboys special teams play that put the game away.
He's 21, comes left, 25. There's a block, 30. There's a block, 40. There goes Calvin Martin to the 40, to the 20. This one's going 79 yards. Calvin Martin, touchdown, Dallas Cowboys.
Gentlemen, let's talk about emotion. I think that game was a very good example of one team, the Dallas Cowboys, coming in ready to play both physically and emotionally. The other team, the Washington Redskins, they appeared to be saying, hey, we're the world champions. In order to win, all we have to do is show up. Well, if the Washington Redskins thought Dallas was high, how about playing the Falcons this week? Deion Sanders, the all-pro cornerback, has signed, so you know they're going to be fired up, so the Skins had better be ready.
Yeah, Deion will definitely help the Falcons, but I think the Washington Redskins have a few problems. I don't know about you guys, but they looked out of shape in that ball game against the Dallas Cowboys, and maybe it's a product of all the contract holdouts. You know, they won the Super Bowl last year. You get the obligatory holdouts the following year. A couple of the holdouts, Mark Rippon, their quarterback, was throwing a lot of ducks in that game. Jim Lachey, their great tackle, looked slow coming off the ball. Darrell Green was beaten for a touchdown. And Desmond Howard, really a non-factor.
You know, that may be true, Chris, but with or without Deion Sanders, who I think still has his baseball shoes on and not his football shoes, I think this is a real mismatch. You have the huge offensive line of the Redskins against the undersized Falcon defensive line. Look at the great receivers. You have Monk, Sanders, Clark, and Desmond Howard against a depleted secondary. Brian Jordan, the fine safety, is not there. Tim McKyer looks like a fish out of water without Deion Sanders, and Sanders only being in camp for 3 days will not be effective in that ball game.
Well, it's obvious, Nick, that you think the Washington Redskins are going to win. Chris, you feel the same way?
Yeah, I agree. And Nick really hit on the key, because without Deion Sanders, they don't have the two great corners ready to play in this ball game. Because Jerry Glanville, he likes to play bump and run, man-to-man on the outside, send everybody else after the quarterback, and I just don't see Deion being ready to play this quickly to be a factor in the game.
Well, I agree with both of you, and plus the fact we all know that Joe Gibbs is just too good of a coach not to have his team ready to play both physically and emotionally, plus the fact they are playing at home. And I even think that the Heisman Trophy winner, Desmond Howard, will score. This is not going to be a close game. In Greek mythology, it is the phoenix that rises from the ashes to soar again. In the NFL, it's the eagle, Randall Cunningham, that is soaring after lengthy rehabilitation. Brian Burwell has that story.
It remains one of sport's simplest pleasures, running. The elegant sight of a human flowing across the ground. How beautiful it looks, how easy it feels. But that free-flowing art form of the human body in motion is altered greatly in football because of the ever-present danger of football armor colliding with mortal human flesh, something that Randall Cunningham discovered all too well a little more than a year ago.
It's one of those things that you hope never happens. You dread getting your knee blown out.
Green Bay was the scene today for Randall Cunningham's injury. Lost quarterback Randall Cunningham for the tremendous blow to Eagle fans today.
Eagles quarterback Randall Cunningham will probably miss the rest of the season.
Combination of those two ligaments that could cause Cunningham to miss the rest of this year.
The game's greatest improvisational artist, football's answer to Magic Johnson, was wiped out on one play, and with him the Eagles' hopes for a Super Bowl. And for more than a year, everyone wondered if there was any way the Magic would ever return.
He was one athlete that I guess I dreaded seeing become injured because of the ability that he had on the field. But once he started on his rehab program, there was no let-up. Randall worked every day. I mean, most diligent person we've ever had, and it's paid off for him.
The price he paid? Total dedication to rehabbing his knee, which was mended, believe it or not, with the Achilles tendon of a cadaver. 11 months of hard work and a single-mindedness that pushed aside all of his other off-field interests.
I had to really sit back and say, what's important? And I didn't care what happened. My knee was the most important thing. I have loyalty to the fans, to myself, and to the players on the team. And my personal life had to take a back seat. You know, it was like, get back there. I'll take care of you later. And it was good because I learned more about myself. I matured, and I gained a lot of patience over the time.
But no matter how patient he was, there was one question that could not be answered in the training room. Could Cunningham's knee still take a hit? He discovered that answer not on opening day, but in the heat of an early training camp scrimmage.
I drop back and I'm throwing passes, right? And then I drop back and I'm sitting in the pocket, and the guy comes in, bam, and hits my knee, and I go, whoa. And I jumped up, moved around a little bit. I said, shoot, I'm all right, man. And I knew right there, I said, hey, that hit is out of the way now. I said, I'm fine. I can go play ball, because it's a mental thing.
He remains football's grand stylist, with the temperament of a jazz musician and the vision of an artist painting some abstract, breathless masterpiece.
He is so beautiful to watch, and it is like a ballerina in one respect. He is more to me than a normal football player.
Yet in his comeback this week against New Orleans, he was a normal football player. And despite his year-long promise, I'll be back scrambling, it's going to take just a little time. The most difficult bridge has already been crossed in the Cunningham comeback. He's back on the field again, performing some of the same exhilarating moves as before. But there's something missing, something that goes well beyond being defined merely as one of the game's most exciting players. Something more substantial, like being hailed as a champion with a Super Bowl ring.
Coming up, a very special Where Are They Now on Hall of Famer Alex Wojciechowicz. We had a chance to speak with the former Lions and Eagles center shortly before his death. The Black and Blue division got a new green coach in Minnesota Vikings head man Dennis Green. He joins us on NFL Crosstalk to discuss the revamped Vikes. And more NFL highlights, including the Bears and Lions, who picked up their long-standing rivalry with a classic not decided until the game's final play.
Going back to the cover story on Randall Cunningham, it is great to see him back. It's also great to see Gary Myers back for his 4th year as our pro football columnist from the New York Daily News. Welcome back, Gary.
Thank you very much.
First time back. You got a blockbuster story to talk about. Here it is, Minneapolis, Minnesota, a court ruling. They've been up there for 4 months. They had 8 players suing the National Football League over the legitimacy of Plan B free agency. The jury awarded 4 of these players over $500,000. That's the total amount of money. You have been following the story for the 4 months. How do you see it?
Well, prior to the trial, the league had offered the 8 plaintiffs a total of $20 million to settle this case. Only 4 of them were award money, and one of those was not Freeman McNeil, who was the headline name in this case. The league's immediate reaction is that the jury's rulings does not make them subject to a class action suit, which would have presented the biggest monetary risk. I think that the thing that will likely to happen is that they'll get back at the bargaining table and try to get a new collective bargaining agreement. The league is willing to liberalize its free agency system, starting off with free agency after 5 years, with maybe 1 or 2 restrictions per team, and working its way to 4 years.
You know, it seems that sports no longer belong to the players and the owner, but to the attorneys, and I'm sure this is not the last time you're going to be discussing this case during the course of the season. Let's discuss the case of Deion Sanders. Deion signed. How did that all come about?
Well, the Falcons took the initiative this week, I think, as a result of the fact that Browning Nagel threw for 366 yards against them in the season opener last week. They also increased their offer. Deion was supposed to make $750,000 this year. Last week they increased it to $1.75 million. This week, $2 million, minus the money he will miss when he misses 2 games if the Braves make the playoffs. This is how it works. From Wednesday to Sunday, Deion belongs to the Falcons. He can go play in Brave games if it doesn't conflict with the Falcons' practice schedule. Once the baseball playoffs roll around, if the Braves make it, Deion is gone from the Falcons for 2 weeks, missing games against Miami and San Francisco, 2 teams that can really throw the ball. And they will miss him during those games.
You know, just think about it. What talent you must have to play 2 sports at the very same time.
That's right.
Well, Atlanta has solved their problem. They've got their cornerback back, but hey, the Raiders still have a problem at quarterback. The folks aren't too happy with Jay Schrader out there.
No, there's a lot of dissension around the Raiders camp this week after Schrader had 4 turnovers in that game against Denver, a game the Raiders really should have won. A lot of the players were talking this week about possibly having a team meeting to discuss the Schrader situation, and on Tuesday there was a pretty heated coaches meeting in which Al Davis took part. A lot of the coaches want to switch right now to Todd Marinovich. Davis has always been in Schrader's corner, and he will start this week. A lot of people around the league are saying that Davis is still trying to justify the trade for Schrader with Washington a few years ago, when he gave up Jim Lachey, who was turned into an all-pro tackle.
Somehow it doesn't surprise me when you say that Al Davis is still running the ship out there on the West Coast. Gary, thank you very much. Looking forward to what you have to say next week.
Great, Lenny.
The more things change in the NFL, the more they stay the same. John Elway continued to make 4th quarter magic. The Chiefs still dominated on defense. The Bengals, as always, were unpredictable, and their former coach Sam White was still stirring things up, but now in Tampa Bay.
You couldn't blame Sam Wyche for seeming a bit stiff in his inaugural game in Tampa. After all, it's been a while since the Buccaneers did more plundering than blundering. Still, if Sunday was any indication, Tampa may be ready to turn the tide.
You get back, you get set up. You make the damn play. This is beginning of a long day. Right, baby. Special right. On 3 to the house, baby. 1, 2, 3, to the house.
The Bucs used a couple of new techniques in their tete-a-tete, soft touch passes and hard-nosed play to sniff out opportunities. And while Tampa took some shots, it was the Cardinals who wound up with the headaches. The Bucs defense played Phoenix like a guitar master as Santana Dotson knocked Tim Rosenbaugh out with a concussion. And while x-rays later proved negative, Vinny Testaverde wasted no time making a positive connection with tight end Ron Hall to secure Tampa's opening day win.
Yeah, where you go, baby? Where you playing? Yeah, let's go. Where you go, LD? Let's go, tight day. Yeah, baby.
NFL is full of good intentions and well-wishers, at least in pregame. But it probably didn't take new Charger head coach Bobby Ross long to realize that San Diego is a long way from Georgia Tech. And it didn't take the Chiefs much longer to ramble, then wreck Ross's debut.
Kidd to punt it from the end zone. Big rush, gets it away. End over end kick. Kicks it away from Carter on the runs. Got it at the 45. Starts up the middle of the 40 to the 30. Through a tackle to the 20. He's going to go all the way and score. Touchdown, Kansas City.
Rookie Dale Carter's electrifying return short-circuited the Chargers, and the Chiefs' defense ensured a rout with a relentless pass rush.
Nate Lewis comes in motion to the right. Bob Galliano backpedaling to throw. Under pressure, steps into the pocket, gets hit, throws, tips it, intercepted. It's picked off at the 5-yard line, and the Kansas City DB's going to the 30, to the 40. He's streaking down the sidelines, and he's going to go all the way, and he's going to score for a touchdown. Kevin Ross.
Kevin Ross's 99-yard interception return is a good indication that Kansas City is prepared to go to great lengths to prove that perhaps preseason pundits picked properly regarding potential postseason play in Pasadena. He's not exactly the Don of coaches, but he is a Shula, so his bloodlines are bound to make headlines. Still, new Bengals head coach David Shula knows a little positive press never hurt, so he unleashed a pressure defense against the Seahawks to great effect.
Here's a pass on first down. Stopper. It's Doug Thomas who falls the football. Go! Picked up by the Bengals. Go whistle. They're going to take it. Bengals football. Bentley at the midfield line at the 40. Bentley at the 30. Ray Bentley is going to go all the way for the touchdown. A big hit on Thomas back at the 23-yard line.
Bentley's return had the Bengals on a roll, and they continued to rock the Seahawks.
Really rushed. Hit from behind. Fumble. A loose football. And it is still rolling around free. Fernandez Vincent picks it up and will take it into the end zone for a touchdown. Wow. Touchdown.
Fernandez Vincent's score finished the drubbing as the Bengals simply ran away and hid from Seattle. Whether David Shula will become a boy wonder or wonder, oh boy, about coaching remains to be seen. But Don Shula's one-time baby boy will learn a lot when he faces the just-win baby Raiders next week. One thing is certain, the Silver and Black will not lay down and die. Although last week against the Broncos, they did lay the ball down a couple of times with disastrous results.
The count, Schrader going back. He's stripped to the ball. It's on the ground. Picked up by Brooks. 40, 30, 25, 20, to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown, Michael Brooks.
Michael Brooks' fumble return gave the Broncos a brief 7-0 edge. But they could neither hold the lead nor hold back the Raiders' relentless rush. The Raiders' intimidating tactics sent Dan Reeves ballistic and helped set the scene for yet another mile-high melodrama. Trailing 13-10, John Elway went to work.
It's like another exciting finish here at Mile High Stadium. Yeah, got it right where we want them.
Blitz. Here it comes, and Elway gets away from it. And there's the pass. Marshall's got it. Breaks the tackle at the 30, 25, 20, 15, 10. Off for Marshall. Lionel Washington pulls him down. John Elway keeps the ball, gives it out to the right side. Touchdown, Reggie Rivers. This has to rank with one of their great victories because it wasn't pretty, but they just were gritty out there. The defense kept them in it, and the offense found a way to win.
Chris, wide receivers are important.
Yes.
Nick, linebackers are very important, but the quarterback is the main man. We just saw that. Elway somehow in the fourth quarter found a way to win. Jay Schrader for the Raiders had the same opportunities, but he couldn't get it done.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, the Raider fans will never have any mistaken identity of Jay Schrader for the clutch Ken Stabler. But one thing that Cincinnati will see is a typical Raider football team, big offensive line, fast receivers, big, strong running backs. But one thing that Cincinnati can count on is that they will not have a great quarterback. Jay Schrader, as long as he's playing quarterback for the L.A. Raiders, the Raiders will never get to a Super Bowl.
Well, I tell you, it's been anything but a typical Bengal defense here lately. Ron Lynn has come in as the new defensive coordinator and inherited a defense that has been the worst in the National Football League over the past 8 years. He's implemented a new attacking style, split the gap kind of defense, and the change has been amazing. James Francis, Alfred Williams have really now been given a chance to go get the quarterback, and this football team is playing much better on the defense.
Boy, you're
side.
into defenses, isn't he? The Colts front seven's the best in the league right now. I guess the Bengals are the second best.
Not yet, no.
I'll give them credit. They scored 2 touchdowns, and I don't think that's going to happen every week. Nick, can the Bengals make it 2 in a row?
Lenny, in spite of Jay Schrader giving up the football 4 times last week against Denver, the running game of the Raiders will overcome Cincinnati.
All right, Chris, I want to ask you something because you live in Cincinnati, you know this football team. This week, the names of the players were released in that rape allegation case from a Seattle woman. How is that going to affect the team?
Well, Lenny, it's a new story nationally, but it's really an old story as far as Cincinnati is concerned. We've been dealing with this for almost a year and a half. And for many of these players, it's almost a relief that it's now out in the open. There's a lot of media in Cincinnati talking about it, but I don't think it'll have an effect on this football team. I look for the Bengals to win it.
Well, I've heard a lot of Schrader bashing on this program. When I went to the record book, I saw that he led them to the playoffs 2 years in a row. Plus, Pro Bowler Greg Townsend has returned. He should be available this week. So I look for a close game. I look for the Raiders to give that rookie coach, David Shula, his first loss. The Vikings and Packers matched 2 longtime friends, Dennis Green and Mike Holmgren, in their coaching debuts. Although that game was the only one of the week to go into overtime, there were other hotly contested games from Week 1, including the Lions-Bears from Soldier Field and the AFC Central shocker in the Astrodome.
Not since Secretariat has a horse seemed as sure a bet to win a race as the Oilers are in this year's AFC Central Derby. And Houston's run for the Rose Bowl and Super Bowl 27 got off to a lightning start on Sunday. Johnny Meade's score helped the Oilers gallop to a 14-0 lead right out of the gates, but the Steelers trotted out a few new tricks to keep pace. Known for their conservative play under former coach Chuck Noll, the Steelers may prove to be a horse of a different color under Bill Cowher, whose call for a fake punt set up the team's first score. Cowher's gamble may have turned the game around as Pittsburgh chipped away to take a fourth-quarter lead. And when Warren Moon misfired with his 5th interception in the final minutes, the Steelers secured the biggest upset of the day, an upset that took the bloom off of Sunday's Rose in Texas. Hoping to avoid wilting in Chicago, the Lions hired a high-paid water boy to keep the troops fresh. Barry Sanders does seem to do it all for Detroit, but even he couldn't prevent a stunning Steve McMichael from going airborne for a sack on Sunday. McMichael recorded 2 of Chicago's 5 sacks as the Bears used a variety of stunts against the rebuilding Detroit line. While rookie Alonzo Spellman's first NFL sack showed his star is on the rise, veteran running back Neil Anderson was determined to prove his star has yet to burn out. Anderson's first of 2 touchdowns helped Chicago build a 10-0 lead. But any arguments that this game was over just didn't hold water, especially when that multi-talented water boy of the Lions could squirt free at any time.
Barry again off the right side, breaks 1 tackle to the 40, fights free! He's on his way! 25, 20, 15, 10, and he scores! Unbelievable! 43-yard run, he was tied up twice, and he just kept pounding those legs, and he scores, and the Lions have the lead. Only Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders' remarkable run set the tone for a wild fourth quarter that would see the lead change hands 4 times. And it appeared the Lions would hold it for good when Willie Green put them ahead 24-20 with just over a minute to play.
Play fake, Rodney to throw. Fires, got a man wide open, caught Willie Green to the 10, to the 5, touchdown Lions! Oh my! Rodney Peete to Willie Green for the touchdown.
But in the game's final breathless minute, quarterback Jim Harbaugh drove the Bears 74 yards and had them perched at the Lions' 6 with just 5 seconds to play.
Gets the snap, looks downfield, throws the middle of the end zone.
Tom Waddle's score gave the Bears their 9th consecutive opening day victory and a critical head start in Chicago's quest to reclaim its division crown. Some feel the Bears' biggest threat will come from a team trying to emerge from a 2-year hibernation. The Vikings, under new head coach Dennis Green, sounded the alarm with a dominating preseason and continued their reawakening Sunday in Green Bay. Chris Dolman registered 2 of the Vikings' 6 sacks, and Hassan Jones stretched himself to the limit as the team's unlikely leading receiver.
Taking a backfield, Gannon straight back in the pocket looking. Wants to throw it off to the side. Now going to go towards the end zone. And it is caught. Touchdown by Minnesota's Hassan Jones.
Jones had 2 touchdown catches, though there was some dispute as to whether his second was really a catch at all. Jones was awarded the score, which helped send the game to overtime, where 140-yard rusher Terry Allen set up Fuad Ravez for the winning kick.
Here's the snap. The ball is down. The kick is on the way. The kick is good. Minnesota wins it.
It's still early, but the once dormant Vikings seem quite rejuvenated under Dennis Green, who may have this sleeping giant pointed back to the playoffs.
The Minnesota Vikings finished 8-8 last season and chose to hire Bill Walsh's protege, Dennis Green, as head coach. Dennis is just one of the many new faces in town. The Vikes even produced TV ads letting people know that some longtime names were no longer there.
Minnesota Vikings, may I help you? No, I'm sorry. Mr. Walker is pursuing other interests. No, Mr. Millard is exploring an opportunity in Seattle. Who? No, Coach Green felt he could benefit from a change of scenery. No. We booted his butt, too.
Dennis Green joins Chris now on NFL Crosstalk.
Dennis, the Vikings have had the reputation of having the inmates almost run the asylum. By getting rid of Herschel Walker and Wade Wilson, Joey Browner, and Keith Millard, can we assume that these guys were the bad apples on the team?
No way. You know, each one of the cases were individual. I think Herschel, Wade, Keith Millard, and Joey Browner all can still play in the National Football League, and I think they'll do a great job with the teams they're on now. It always just comes down to the new situation, and you have to do what's best for your particular program, and that includes each individual player. But it's nothing against those guys individually.
Well, the Vikings had a great preseason, outscoring their opponents 140-6. But then you struggled last week to beat the Green Bay Packers on opening day. Were you at all disappointed with that Packer game?
No, I think anytime you win on the road against a team like a Green Bay up at Lambeau Field, you have to feel pleased with it. We don't have to worry about that game now, to be honest with you. All we're looking for now is our next game. We'll take each game one game at a time. We had a great preseason, but that was over. You couldn't do it again in a million years if you tried to. Our focus now is the Lions. We feel that we have a shot, but we're going to have to go into the Silver Dome and play extremely well.
And you're satisfied with the play of Rich Gannon at quarterback?
Rich playing some solid football. I think anytime you throw for under 240 yards, you've done okay. I think our whole offense was okay. We had a couple sacks, which we hope to clean up. Our rushing attack, we did all right on that too. So, again, you know, when you look back at the game, it was a solid game for us. Not a great game for us, but, again, a game that I think we can build on.
Let me ask you a personal question now. The NFL has 2 black head coaches in the league. And are you now satisfied with the job that the NFL is doing concerning minority hiring?
Well, I don't look at the NFL as a whole group like some people. I think each individual team has to be responsible for who they hire. And so, again, I'm not lumping NFL. I think that's each team. Each individual situation is unique. And I would like to see equal opportunity, give the job to the best available man. And if that happens, I'm satisfied.
Do you think the NFL is doing that? Do you think that they're going out and actively recruiting black coaches?
Well, you're talking about each individual team. I don't think each individual team listens to the National Football League. I think they do the job the way they want to do it, just like they'd hire, a accountant or anyone else. And again, the product is the coaches, the product is the talent on the field. I think each individual team will do it the way they want to do it. Again, I've got some great guys, regardless of whether they're black or white, that can be head coaches. Everybody would love to be a head coach, and if it happens, it'll happen for them, and I'd be happy for them.
Well, let's talk about your game this Sunday with the Lions. Is Rodney Peete enough of a threat at quarterback to take your focus off of Barry Sanders in this game?
Rodney Peete's a big threat. He's got a lot of talent. He can throw the ball well. He makes a lot of time throw, particularly in the seam, so he's very difficult to play zone against. And also, if you have too aggressive of a pass rush or spend too much time worrying about Barry Sanders, he can pull it down and run it. So, yes, he is a threat.
All right, Coach. Well, we appreciate you taking a few minutes with us, and congratulations. Off to a great start, and I'm sure the people in the Twin Cities are getting excited about football once again.
Well, I appreciate it. We'll take it one game at a time. Thank you.
All right. Nick, Len?
Chris, thank you very much. Nick, the reason the Vikings are doing so well is Dennis Green. The players respect him. They have bought his program, but I don't know how he's going to sell them on the idea that they can stop Barry Sanders.
You know, Lenny, when you don't have a first-round draft choice for 4 straight years, it eventually takes its toll, especially on defense. If you look at them, they have Mike Merriweather and Chris Dolman, but I don't think that's going to be enough against Barry Sanders on Sunday.
Yeah, particularly when they have to play in the Lions' den. NFL wasn't always as popular as it is today. Great players from the teams in the 1930s and 40s helped change all of that, including the subject of this week's very special Where Are They Now? Alex Wojciechowicz.
He was big and blonde with an iron-jawed look that defined the decade. In a time of heroes, he was everybody's All-American. This summer said farewell to Alex Wojciechowicz, one of Fordham's legendary blocks of granite, and an NFL Hall of Famer from the Lions and Eagles. What remains are the echoes of an athlete, father, and friend, lessons passed on to those who remain behind.
Giving it all, every game I ever played, was a pleasure. Was indeed a high pleasure. Every game I ever played, way back, I never stopped. I gave it all the way. And I couldn't play football otherwise, unless I gave it all.
My dad's philosophy in life that he held throughout his life was that you have to win. And he was a winner. And it didn't matter where it was. It didn't matter whether it was on the football field or in the game of life. He always had to be the best in what he did.
He used to wear dentures, and he would play games with them. He would pop them out and kind of scare us, but we thought it was really funny.
He was in a game where he had his 2 front teeth knocked out. And the fellow that did it got up with a smile on his face, and he was very proud that he knocked my father's teeth out.
I went with reckless abandon after every one of them, every one of them.
Dad got a little upset over that, and so the very next play, he hit the guy so hard that the guy was carried out of the game.
Wojo was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1968 and is best remembered as a wide-stance center.
You got to take the good with the bad. The bad was playing center on offense. The good is playing defense as a linebacker. I had an opportunity of giving just as well as taking it.
I remember him saying that Bronco was the toughest man he ever played. In fact, he at one point zeroed in on Bronco, and Bronco wasn't even looking.
I had a good chance to see if I could knock him off his pins without him seeing me. And I hit him on the side of his body, and I just slid off of him like as if I was water off a duck. And he looked at me and he says, "You damn Pollock, what the heck you think you're doing?" I said, "Never mind, I'll never do it again."
He had a handshake that could kill. You always had to forewarn your friends who were going to meet him that his handshake would just kill you.
Dad, of course, going through the Jesuit teachings at Fordham, really got firmly instilled in a deep religious conviction that he carried through everything in his life.
He lived and he died with his ideals and his ideas, and it's as simple as that.
Age slowed Alex Wojciechowicz, and time took its toll. But in his day, he roared like a lion, soared like an eagle, and stood his ground like a block of granite.
All of us at HBO would like to offer our condolences to the Wojciechowicz family. Alex was quite a guy. Now, folks, it's the favorite time of the show for you and for us because it is the pick segment. A couple of reasons why. We take a lot of pride in this selection and making sure we do the right thing. Secondly, there is the Commissioner's Trophy at hand. This trophy goes at the end of the year to the person who does the best job of making the picks. And somewhere down there, you'll see the name of Len Dawson. He won that last year. To my left, ladies and gentlemen, a new addition to the pick segment is Gary. Now, Gary Myers, why you got a good thing going in your segment? Why you want to come on this one?
I like the chance to compete against three of you guys, three ex-players, and show who knows more. Well, it's just a look at this Commissioner's Trophy, a 14-karat gold, beautiful trophy. I already have a spot in my living room for it.
Yeah, but where's your helmet, Gary? I don't see it anywhere on that trophy.
Nowhere on there. If you put this in your living room, they're going to think you stole it.
Well, I'll tell them you gave it to me.
After the first week, he's not stealing anything because when I look and see how we fare, we see the name of Gary Myers with a 9-4 record. Chris is right there with a 9-4 as well. Nick is right behind with an 8-5. Bringing up the rear is Len Dawson with a 7-6. But this is just the first week of the season, folks. Now, earlier in the show, we discussed 3 of the games. We also made our selections. Now, here are the rest of them. First, the ones we all agree on. The Lions over the Vikings. Detroit 9-0 at home last year. The Rams should defeat New England. Denver over San Diego. Stan Humphries will start at quarterback for the Chargers in that contest. Philadelphia downing Phoenix. Miami didn't play last week, folks, because of Hurricane Andrew. They'll play Cleveland this week. They will win. And David Craig will get an opportunity to go against his former teammate Seattle, and the Chiefs will win that one. Now, other games in more detail. And since Gary is new on the show this week, this year, Chicago at New Orleans. Gary, how do you see it?
Well, you have to like the Bears on the road somewhat because they went down to New Orleans last year when the Saints were undefeated midway through the season, and they beat them. However, I think the Saints' defense is right there with the Eagles' defense is the best in the league. They did a really nice job on Randall Cunningham last week, so I like the Saints at home.
I think the Bears, Lenny, not enough offense. The Saints, too much defense. They're playing at home in the Superdome. I like the Saints.
Now, even though the Saints got beat by the Philadelphia Eagles, I was impressed with what they were able to do in Philadelphia. They go home this week to the Dome. Should be too much. I like the Saints.
I think we probably all agree that the Saints linebacking core is as good as any in the National Football League. And you're right, they're playing at home. I like the Saints in that contest. Nick, we're going to talk about a team that you've talked about, the Giants. They'll be hosting the Dallas Cowboys. How do you see that game?
You know something, I used to love the Giants when Bill Parcells coached them, but Dallas has too much team speed. I think under Ray Hanley, the team is really in disarray. I like the Dallas Cowboys.
I don't like the Cowboys simply because they're coming off of a big emotional win on Monday night. You have to let down from that. Then they have to travel on the road. I'll take the Giants at home, I think.
You think? Okay.
The Ray Hanley watch has officially started here in New York. He's under a lot of pressure to win this year to keep his job. The Giants are really messed up. They have a lot of problems. I think Dallas wins this game pretty easy.
I think Jimmy Johnson has done a terrific job with the Dallas Cowboys. He's getting that defense intact as well, and you saw the emotion they played with against the Redskins. I like Dallas as well. All right, Chris, the Bays, Green Bay, and Tampa Bay.
Now, everybody's talking about the job that Sam Wyche is doing with Vinny Testaverde at quarterback, but this is a team that is really very good now on defense, led by middle linebacker Calvin Tiggle. I think the Bucs will make it 2 in a row.
Which is something they haven't done at the start of the season since 1980, which is an incredible streak. But I disagree with you somewhat. I think that the key to this team is Sam Wyche working with Vinny Testaverde. He didn't have any interceptions last week. If he keeps that kind of pace up, 1 or 2 a week, then I think that Tampa will have a decent season, and they'll definitely beat Green Bay on Sunday.
I think the key is that Sam Wyche got Vinny Testaverde glasses. Now he can see the other team's jerseys. And Terrell Buckley is not playing for Green Bay. He's a #1 pick. They need him badly. Tampa Bay plays at home. It's very hot there in the afternoon. I like the Bucs.
Well, I did this very scientifically because I couldn't make up my mind, so I flipped a coin. It came up the Green Bay Packers, so I guess I disagree with you guys. This game could go either way. All right, we've got Houston at Indianapolis. Gary, Warren Moon.
A lot of interceptions.
5 interceptions. Is it going to happen again?
That won't happen again, but that was quite a way for him to celebrate that new $15 million contract. Important things for the Houston this week is they got 2 of their best defensive players back, Sean Jones and Chris Dishman. That'll help make a difference over the course of the season. they'll easily beat Indianapolis on Sunday at the Dome.
You know, Gary, but one thing you did forget, that Indy has one of the best front
as good as
front seven as any in the National Football League. I don't know how you can ignore that, but somehow, someway, I think Houston and Warren Moon just may find a way to win. I like the Oilers.
Well, you guys know me, and usually when I make a statement, I stick right with it through thick and thin. But this week with the run and shoot of Houston coming in, they've got to take some of those great linebackers out, and I think I'll take Houston.
A lot of butts and ifs and wins. And
his consistently lasted about 40 minutes with that best of it.
That's a record.
I like Houston, Warren Moon, and the Oilers are just too strong for them. All right, we've got the Jets at Pittsburgh.
You know, the Jets, Browning Nagel, man-to-man coverage last week at Atlanta. He won't get that at Pittsburgh. Too good a defense. I like the Steelers.
Yeah, if the Jets are going to contend in the East, they have to be able to go into Pittsburgh and win. I like New York.
I was at that game in Atlanta last week, and Browning Nagel really was a revelation. He threw every conceivable type of pass and completed most of them. I think the Jets get their first win this week.
I think the Jets are going to win because of their defense. All right, now there's going to be a Super Bowl game played down the road, Super Bowl 27. I would like your selection, Gary, AFC, NFC, and who's going to win it all?
Well, I think the NFC East gets a team in the Super Bowl for the third straight year. Philadelphia to beat Dallas in the championship game, Houston in the AFC, and I like Houston to win it all.
I like the Buffalo Bills in the AFC, and I like in the NFC the San Francisco 49ers, and I like the 49ers to win the Super Bowl.
You finally got it right. Look at you. I agree. Buffalo, San Francisco, but I say Buffalo ends the streak for the AFC. I think they'll win it all.
This is going to surprise you. I'm going to stick to it until they do it right. The Chiefs will win the AFC. It'll be San Francisco, NFC, and the Chiefs are going to win their second Super Bowl.
They haven't done it right for 25 years.
All right. That is it. Now, this show premieres Thursdays at 11 p.m., but you can also see it Fridays at 7 p.m., Saturdays at 11 a.m. All times are Eastern and Pacific. That's our show for this week. For Gary Myers, Dick Bonaconte, Chris Collinsworth, I'm Len Dawson saying thank you very much for joining us, and please join us next week.
Bet you didn't know I went to school on a basketball scholarship, not football. Watch Inside the NFL next week and see where I am now.
This has been a presentation of HBO Sports, the network of champions.